And good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special segment on the 11th day of October. Well, today is 23 degrees and cloudy, but it's not very cloudy as well. When I talk about cloudy, some days it can be very, very cloudy, or very sunny. So it's quite a nice day out there at 23 degrees right here in Brisbane as you join in for today's news update, and right after the update we will have the Daily India report as well. So right now let's go into the first news for today, and of course we know that the New South Wales, the Premier Dominic Perrottet pushes for stamp duty reform.
Dominic Perrottet has been building to this moment since before he was Premier.
This is great policy. It's about providing choice. How can you argue with choice?
He wants to start reforming stamp duty by allowing first home buyers to choose between the upfront cost or paying an annual land tax on properties up to $1.5 million. The scheme is set to start in January. First, though, it needs to be legislated.
It's a game changer for first home buyers, and Labor should get out of the way and stand with first home buyers, young families across Western Sydney.
Government data shows Campbelltown, Blacktown and Liverpool have the most properties eligible. The bill will hit the floor of Parliament this week, setting up a partisan clash close to an election that will be contested in Sydney's west and southwest.
We're going to vote it down. This has not been endorsed by the people of New South Wales. There's no endorsement from the people of this state for a forever tax on the family home.
There's also concern from some of the crossbench.
It's not just an election gimmick. This is something that's a really important reform. We need to get it right. Let's send it to inquiry and have a really good look at it.
An inquiry would delay a vote in the upper house.
There's a lot at stake here for the Premier. He's long wanted stamp duty reform to be his legacy, and it will be personally bruising if he fails. The numbers are looking very tight in the upper house, and it's been left to the 11th hour in this parliamentary term.
The biggest change...
It has been left till the very, very last, but at least the reforms there. And it will be interesting to see what really happens. We'll probably find out in a few days' time. Well, right now, let's take a look at the weather and where the floods are, what's happening in that scene.
In Darwin, where the wet's already started rolling in, cyclones may not be far behind. Cyclone season officially begins next month, but forecasters say the big winds might blow sooner this season.
With a negative IOD and a La Nina underway, we could expect to see an early first tropical cyclone in our region, and that's the whole Australian region.
Exactly when the first cyclone might hit is still up in the air, but the Bureau's outlook also points to a much higher chance of there being more cyclones than average this season.
In Australia, we typically have 11 tropical cyclones. For the Northern Territory, we usually have around 3 tropical cyclones in our waters.
The Bureau's also warned the increased chance of rain brings with it an increased chance of flooding. But it's not just wet weather. BOM is also urging people to be wary of the heat, with the chance of bushfires elevated in Central Australia.
We are keeping a close eye on the rain that is coming into the Northern Territory, and particularly if it moves further into those southern parts of the NT, it will reduce the fire risk.
With less than a month until the start of the season, the Bureau's urging people in cyclone-prone areas to start prepping now. Mitchell Abram, ABC News, Darwin.
Start preparing for it now, and as we say, for those kind of reasons, he cannot be over-prepared anytime. So there you are. Right now, let's go to Victoria, where there has been a place to keep and cap the public transport cost or the fares.
Committing to cut the considerable cost of commuting.
That's what the $2 flat fare is about. It's about getting people moving around their cities and towns.
Matthew Guy is trying to sell his $1.3 billion promise to slash train, tram and bus fares to $2 a day to ease cost of living pressures.
I think it's a good idea.
It's certainly a positive, yes. Anything to help keep a dollar in my pocket's a bonus.
Will that help to change your work? Definitely, yes, because you're looking after people.
Wouldn't affect it at all because I don't take public transport very often.
But some experts say the pledge isn't on the right track for low-income earners.
the people who benefit from the reduction in fares will be those where the service is already of good quality. That tends to be wealthier households in the inner and middle suburbs.
Those commentaries usually come from people who have never lived in the outer burbs. I have.
Also in the outer suburbs, the Public Transport Minister, promising $60 million to upgrade Boronia Station if Labor retains power.
This is a really important investment of transport infrastructure.
But he won't be matching the opposition's pledge for cheap fares.
This already goes to people that literally have already good access to train stations, but it does nothing for people living in regional Victoria or those living in outer suburban Melbourne that really want good public transport.
The opposition has so far focused its entire campaign on health. This could be the cost of living policy that cuts through to voters. But with B-line fares not included, the coalition risks putting regional Victorians offside by appearing to favour those in the city. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Melbourne.
Well, we are all talking about COVID-19. Is it really gone? Where is it? What's the possibilities of it coming back?
Not good. We had the Chief Medical Officer 2 weeks ago saying that we've got to stop COVID exceptionalism. This is, in fact, an exceptional virus. This is a virus that's mutating around our immune system. It's not behaving the way we expected. Yes, we're in a lull at the moment, but if you go to Europe, several countries are seeing now a new surge that's moving forward. There are several variants sitting in the background which are immune evasive. We've got to have a few things in place that still slow this down without affecting life too much. Mandatory isolation was not a major one, and we've lost a lot that we gained during the early pandemic. We had national data. We've got virtually no national data that's coordinated now. Federal states are putting out the data when they want to, collecting it in different ways. If the next variant emerges in Queensland, we would have very little idea for quite a while because their monitoring has gone down a lot. We don't seem to have learnt the lessons, and moving forward, just looking at this year so far, 13,000 deaths. That's a lot of deaths. 250 or something like that from influenza. This is an exceptional virus. We've got to keep an eye on it.
And the big problem, isn't it, with ending mandatory isolation, as all states and territories have agreed to do on Friday, is that bringing it back is going to be pretty hard, isn't it?
Well, it's not only, that's right. Yeah. That's right, but it's also the messaging. Brendan Crabb at the Burnet Institute has talked about this, is that if the messaging is, look, it's not exceptional virus, we can go back to normal. Yes, there will be another surge, they reluctantly admit. Why would you bother getting your third dose? So 28% of Australians who are eligible have not even had their third dose. Why would you bother? Because the politicians are telling you it's all over, Red Rover, when it's not over. And this is a dangerous virus. There could be 500,000 people in Australia with long COVID. We've got to slow this down and slow the next down, because it's not just whether you're going to die or be in hospital this time, it's whether you're going to be sick in the long term, and the risk of that remains the same unless you're immunised.
What's happening overseas at the moment? I know in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, they're going into their winter season.
Well, it's not yet a seasonal virus as far as we can see, but yes, if you look at countries like Austria, France, Germany, their numbers are going up. There's a bit of confusion about Britain, but Britain looks as though it's going up as well. Hospitalizations are rising in some parts of Europe, so they're seeing a surge. At the moment, it's BA5, but about 10% of new cases are other variants, and one of these might break through. So it is BA5, which is important because the new bivalent vaccine does help to cover BA5 a bit better than the previous vaccine. So at the moment, BA5 is where you throw the dice. But another study has shown that even if you've had a BA5 infection in the past, you've got a 30% chance of being reinfected. It's not going to cover you against reinfection.
And going back to the pretty low booster rates, as you pointed out correctly, Norman, we have this Omicron-specific vaccine being rolled out as well to more people.
Yes, and it's not BA5 that's in the vaccine, it's BA1, or the genetic message for BA1, but research has shown, published last week, has shown that it in fact does provide some coverage which is better than the original vaccine for BA4 and 5.
Hey Norman, just before you go, we've got the Federal Health Minister on the program shortly. What do you think he needs to be focusing on when it comes to COVID and those vaccine numbers?
Well, I think we'll focus on changing the messaging, that this is a dangerous virus. We are at risk. People do need to get immunised, and we've got to be vigilant for the future. We could get mugged round the corner, and we've got to have national data, we've got national coordination, we've got to return to the attitude of March 2020 when we pulled together. Now we're back to being a messy federation.
We need to get our messaging right, and that is a key message that's coming out of that report. Well, right now, let's take a look at the CSIRO launches the new research aimed at assisting the shift to low emission. That's another area of concern.
The CSIRO is today launching a new research mission to help Australia make the shift to low emissions.
The mission is called Towards Net Zero, and it will focus on traditional industries like steel and agriculture. We're joined now from Sydney by the CSIRO Chief Executive Larry Marshall. Larry Marshall, good morning to you.
Michael, good morning and thanks for having us today.
Steel and agriculture are called hard-to-abate industries. Why is that?
Yeah, because so much of emissions can be reduced by solar and wind power for electricity, but 2/3 of the nation's emissions don't come from electricity. They come from different uses of fuels, and part of that is these really hard-to-abate industries that can't simply be electrified. And so we're really focusing our science and engineering in partnership with over 30 partners across industry and government to try and solve this seemingly impossible problem of really getting rid of the emissions from those hard-to-abate sectors at the same time as growing the economy, particularly in Australia's regions.
Let's go through those sectors. The agriculture, how is the CSIRO teaming up with people on the land to bring down emissions from the agricultural sector?
Yeah, so ag's a great example. It's responsible for about 15% of Australia's emissions. There's a number of things we can do there, like sequestering carbon, so-called negative emissions technologies, and agriculture and farming is a great way to do that using things like biochar. But a really interesting solution that you may have read about, of course, is FutureFeed, which essentially eliminates the emissions from cattle, and this is FutureFeed. It's a seaweed supplement that just this year started being sold around the world. It's a unique Australian product that virtually eliminates the emissions from cattle.
Okay, that's fascinating. So let's go to the steel industry now. What's the CSIRO doing there to look at low emission steel? Firstly, explain what low emission steel is and how, I guess, far down the scientific track are we to achieving it?
So to make steel, we need iron ore and coal, and Australia exports almost half of the world's high-quality iron ore. But to make steel, you need more than just heat. You need the chemistry of coal, and so we've invented a technology called the hydrogen cracker, which we think is a great option for reducing the emissions from industries like coal, because hydrogen is a fuel, but it doesn't have any emissions whatsoever. So it's different to electricity in that it has fuel characteristics, but it is truly a net zero fuel. So we're really excited about that, and that too is part of this mission.
Oh, right. Can I say I'm loving the show and tell, Larry Marshall. This is fantastic. This next one might be a bit more tricky though on the show and tell front, but of great relevance to all of us who catch planes. Of course, planes contribute to cutting holes in the ozone layer. So what's the CSIRO doing in terms of bringing sustainable fuel to the aviation sector?
Yes, sustainable fuel is a really interesting opportunity, particularly for regional Australia. And actually, that's the thing that each of these hard-to-abate industries have in common. They seem like a threat, but with the right science, we believe we can turn them into a great growth opportunity, particularly for Australia's regions. And let's face it, the regions are what built this country in the first place. So we really want to use science to find a way for them to prosper in a net zero world. And in particular for things like aviation fuel, it's possible to make synthetic fuels from crops you can actually grow plants that then you can use low emissions processes to turn into fuel. The trick there, though, is so-called negative emissions, so that you still sort of burn the fuel, but you sequester the carbon from that burning back into the ground, where it can be stored for hundreds or even thousands of years. So you have essentially a virtuous cycle where you might be emitting fuel, but it's a sustainable fuel from the sustainable aviation fuels, and then you're sequestering that carbon that you're emitting back into the ground. So you're not increasing the net carbon to the atmosphere, which is the key to getting to net zero.
Okay, Larry Marshall.
Key to getting net zero, I'm still not sold on that idea, but you know, there's too many variables for as far as I'm concerned, and of course too early in this stage to find out what the side effects or other long-term effects might be, because whenever new things are developed, they're looked at what it can do right now, but overall, you know, in a long-term manner, what would the consequences be? You know, that really needs to be looked at. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our Daily India Report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. One of India's modern political stalwarts, Mulayam Singh Yadav, former Chief Minister of the biggest Uttar Pradesh state and a 7-term Member of Parliament, died after a prolonged illness at the age of 82. The founder of Samajwadi Party, Mulayam Singh Yadav, passed away on 10th October 2022 at the Medanta Hospital in Gurugram. He has been hospitalized since August 2022. Yadav spawned UP's most prominent political clan. He was elected an MLA 10 times and an MP 7 times. He also served as India's Defence Minister and thrice as the UP Chief Minister. He even appeared to have a shot at the Prime Minister's post briefly. India's political leadership across all parties paid rich tributes to the man who was seen to have a lot at becoming the Prime Minister when he forged a national coalition. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had over the years developed a rapport, though not a born homie, with Yadav. Modi said Mulayam Singh's death, quote, pains me, end quote. India's Home Minister Amit Shah reached Gurugram's Medanta Hospital. Mulayam Singh took his last breath. Amit Shah said that Mulayam Singh had an unparalleled political acumen, remained active in politics for decades and will be remembered as a leader who was connected to his roots and the people on ground. The Indian National Congress condoled Mulayam Singh Yadav's demise and said his passing away was an irreparable loss to Indian politics. Yadav's political rival and the BJP party Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, announced a 3-day state mourning and said Yadav's last rites to be held with full state honours. The mortal remains of Mulayam Singh Yadav will be taken to Delhi from Gurugram's Medanta Hospital at around 1 p.m. today. Mulayam Singh Yadav's son Akhilesh Yadav, who has also been a Chief Minister of UP, said his father's last rites will be performed in the hometown, Saifai in Uttar Pradesh. Gujarat state's Modhera is declared India's first solar-powered village. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on October 9th declared Modhera, a village in the Mehsana district of Gujarat state, as India's first solar-powered village. Addressing the gathering after laying the foundation stone and dedicating development works at Modhera, Modi said Modhera is associated with the Sun Temple and will also be known for its strides in solar energy. Modi added that Modhera takes a giant leap towards harnessing solar power. Modhera is cited as an example for India to amalgamate new technology with an ancient glorious heritage. The Prime Minister pointed out that lack of electricity created problems in education and household work. But Modhera will become an example to empower the new India to achieve its streamlined target. Modi said India should aim to become an energy provider to the world. Modi said he could foresee rural transformation with people installing solar panels in their homes and farmers generating electricity from their farms. The Election Commission of India has frozen the original political symbol of the political party, Shiv Sena, and asked the two factions to contest by polls with new party names and symbols. The bow and arrow original symbol of Shiv Sena is frozen as the factions led by Uddhav Thackeray and Eknath Shinde continue to lock horns. More and more Shiv Sena leaders are joining the faction led by Eknath Shinde, who is now the Chief Minister of Maharashtra state.
Thackeray and Shinde are both asserting their claims over the party's original symbol. After the Election Commission action, the Uddhav Thackeray faction submitted a list of 3 party names and symbols for the upcoming by-polls in Mumbai city's Andheri East. The commission had earlier asked the competing groups to submit documents proving legislative and organizational support by August 8 to back their claims. The Shinde faction had approached the Election Commission seeking the allocation of the bow and arrow pole symbol to it for the upcoming by-election. The 2 factions had split in June and have been accused each other of tainting the legacy of Bal Thackeray, founder of Shiv Sena and father of Uddhav Thackeray.
Orange alert has been sounded in the Delhi National Capital Region and adjoining Uttar Pradesh state as non-stop rains derails normalcy.
Extended monsoon in many parts of India is being seen as a result of climate change and global warming. Citizens are running for cover as many roads and areas remain waterlogged, causing heavy traffic. The National Capital Region has received continuous rain since the afternoon of October 8th, flooding roads and uprooting trees. District authorities in Lucknow, Noida, Ghaziabad, Agra, Meerut, Aligarh, Mathura, Kanpur, Etah, Mainpuri and Firozabad have ordered the closure of schools on 10th October due to heavy rain. The India Meteorological Department also issued an orange alert regarding heavy to very heavy rain, thunderstorms and lightning for western Uttar Pradesh areas and asked authorities to stay alert for October 10th. Traffic police have warned commuters to take care while driving, especially under flyovers, as many roads have been flooded. Rains have disturbed life in many parts of North India. The IMD has also predicted rain for the next few days in Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Delhi NCR, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Odisha, West Bengal and Jharkhand, besides some southern states. IMD has forecast thunderstorms over Sikkim, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Kerala on October 10th. Rain is also possible in Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Gangetic West Bengal, Telangana, Karnataka, Lakshadweep, East Gujarat, the rest of Northeast India and Haryana.
The United States has issued a yellow color level 2 advisory to its citizens for their travel to India. This is the 4th travel advisory issued by the US for India in 2022.
The United States has asked its citizens to exercise increased caution while traveling to India. Since March 28, the United States has maintained the Level 2 advisory which asks people to exercise increased caution. On 6 October 2022, Washington sounded a warning to its citizens due to crime and terrorism and advised them not to travel to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The advisories maintained and issued by the Department of State are broadly bifurcated into 4 different color-coded levels from 1 to 4, with 1 being the safest place to travel and 4 being the no travel zone recommended for its citizens. On March 28, the State Department lowered the advisory from level 3 to level 2. The travel advisory for India has mostly been level 2 and a few times level 3. It was put into the level 4 category at the peak of the COVID-19 crisis in April 2021.
Partnership between Indian cricketers Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan helped India level the ODI series against visiting South Africa.
A formidable century by Iyer and an inexplicable display of brute force by Ishan Kishan ensured a 7-wicket victory for India over a full-strength South African attack on October 9th. India managed to level the ongoing one-day international series at 1-1. Batting first, South African batsmen looked in control with Aiden McRam, scoring 79 off 89 balls, sharing a good partnership with Reza Hendricks, who scored 74 runs off 76 balls. But Mohammad Siraj led an inexperienced Indian bowling lineup brilliantly and triggered the collapse. South Africa struggled in the death overs as they could manage only 57 runs of the last 10 overs to end at 278 for 7 in their stipulated 50 overs. India started cautiously, though losing captain Shikhar Dhawan early. Classy-looking Shubham Gill scored 28 runs before being dismissed. Ishan Kishan and Iyer took over and shared a match-winning 161-run stand to ensure a comfortable win in 45.5 overs for a second-string Indian team. The 24-year-old Kishan smashed 7 sixes and 4 boundaries in his career-best knock, while Iyer played the perfect foil. The team will play the series decider in Delhi on October 11th.
The trailer of late South Indian cine star Puneet Rajkumar's last film Gigi Gandhada Gudi is released.
South Indian science star Puneet Rajkumar died at the young age of 46 due to cardiac arrest in October 2021. His wife Ashwini has unveiled the trailer of her husband's last film, Gigi Gandhada Gudi, saying that the film was very close to Puneet's heart. She produced the film, which has been directed by Amoga Varsha. The trailer is visually stunning and offers mesmerizing views of Karnataka, including underwater life, tribals, forests, streams, lesser-known islands and a hidden mountain. The film will release in theatres on October 28th in Kannada, Hindi and English. Sharing the trailer of the Kannada film, Ashwini wrote on Twitter, "Namaste at Narendra Modi. Today is an emotional day for us as we are releasing the trailer of #Gandhada Gudi, a project close to Appu's heart. Appu always cherished the interactions with you and would have loved to share with you in person." She further added, "Appu is not in our midst, but his life and work motivate and give us the strength to embrace the culture of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. #GG Movie celebrates cinema and also holds a mirror to the rich heritage, culture, nature and diversity of our land." Prime Minister Narendra Modi responded to her tweet, quote, "Appu lives in the hearts of millions around the world. He was brilliance personified, full of energy and blessed with unparalleled talent. #Gandhada Gudi is a tribute to Mother Nature, Karnataka's natural beauty and environmental conservation. My best wishes for this endeavour," end quote. Gigi Gandhada Gudi is a true-to-life multilingual in which Puneet Rajkumar sheds all his stardom and sets out on a journey with Amoga Varsha to discover new stories and unravel secrets in a whole new immersive cinematic experience. Puneet was the youngest of 5 children of Kannada matinee idol Dr. Rajkumar.
The Hindi language trailer of the Kannada hit Kantara has been released. The Hindi version of the film releases in theatres on October 14th.
Kannada film Kantara starring Rishabh Shetty was released on 30th September 2022. The film, which is also written and directed by Rishabh, received positive reviews and has been doing very well at the box office. In 9 days, the Kannada version of the film collected 44.25 crores and now the movie is all set to release in other languages, also including Hindi. The Hindi dubbed version of Kantara will hit the big screens on 14th October 2022 and the makers have released the Hindi trailer of the film. Kantara is produced by Homebale Films, which had produced Yash Tarar KGF Chapter 2, which is one of the biggest hits of the year. The production house took to Twitter to share the trailer. The Hindi trailer of Kantara has impressed the netizens and they feel that the movie is all set to rule at the box office in the north.
That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
And Ankita, thank you very much for that Daily India Report. Ladies and gentlemen, right now let's go to the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you in this segment. It's been wonderful having your company as usual. Don't forget that tomorrow we have two segments. 9 o'clock is the news, and at 10 a.m. we have the weekly real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. Well, right now it's time to say goodbye. Until tomorrow, we will see you then.